something that's good to do. Oh, I got the classic cricket glasses on. I have new glasses, but I still wear these, and that's the topic here. Especially this topic is going to be more important, I think, for people who have lived in an not extreme, but lived in a poor situation. Like I remember when we were young, we'd be like driving, and like the car would run out of gas or something like that. As we were driving, we have to walk home. Or, if you're in a situation where you then are able to have things, and now this doesn't necessarily mean that you have things based on money. This could be you're sponsored, or you might have a certain type of excess of things, you could be sponsored by a instrument, a company or a clothing company. And without getting into details, about 7 years ago, I began to work in that capacity where I was receiving items that normally I couldn't afford. I've never been career driven. I like making art, I like reading and making music, and it takes up so much of my time, and now volunteer work, that I just can't even imagine a career or spending the little time we have trying to generate some money. So I'm okay, and I've always been okay with having minimal. That's why I'm single. One of the reasons why I'm single. I only have to focus on one person. But something that I've learned that helps keep your spiritual level calibrated in a waking sense, one of the little things you can do when you're moving around in society, especially if you're living in the city, is to be humble with the fact that you have an overage of something and make sure to donate, but also still use the old stuff until they can't possibly be used anymore, just like you would have done if you hadn't have had the opportunity to have a lot of that type of item. It could be glasses, it could be shoes, jumpsuit, things like that. And that's why I wear the taped glasses, the super glued glasses, because it takes forever to get an appointment. It's super expensive, and I actually did have to wear these for a couple weeks while I was figuring out the contacts, and the new pair takes forever. And I ended up going to a place that was open the same day, and I paid for it. A couple $100 more paid for it, literally. So the shoes, like these shoes I'm wearing right here. I had like 200 pairs of shoes. I went and donated at least half of those. I didn't realize that was something you could donate to charity, along with a bunch of clothes. I cooked out 2 months ago. I didn't realize there was a place that takes mass amounts right down the street. And these shoes here, I've been wearing them over a year now. And I have, unopened pairs. And you don't want to have too many unopened pairs, because then that turns into hoarding. But the fact is that for most of my life, I didn't have shoes on reserve like that. All different types now. I have like dress shoes, and these shoes here, just casual, regular, everyday shoes. These are like, this might be a higher end of this type of thing, but they're either like $40, or they may go as far as $70. And I have casual shoes that are worth way more than that, and I'm not wearing them, And I have those boxes. I always keep about 10 pairs, sometimes a dozen. Well, if you this includes workout, work shoes, and casual shoes. That's really nothing. And they stay there, and I wear these ones until I can't possibly be worn anymore. And a little tip too, by the way, having a large collection of shoes, like racks of shoes to show it off, that's not cool. Those will develop odors even if you never wear them, and the leather will go bad. They actually need to be wrapped in plastic or in a box. And most people probably know this, but I had racks of those just out. For a while I thought it was kind of humorous to go, hey, look at all these shoes, because a lot of them were comical shoes, and it just they weren't aging properly, and so I had to throw away some just because they didn't, I don't know. But so that's that, and this goes for kitchen appliances too, like pots. I could easily get new pots and pans. I use them until the hand pretty much falls off, and this is discipline. Knowing a lot of times people don't do that because they think life is short. Let's wear a new pair of shoes every week. Let's wear a new tie or a new blazer every day of the month. Okay, I do that. But other than that, the blazer thing. So that's it. As long as you're mediating it and aware of it and paying attention to it, it's a very healthy way. Just like mental exercise, reading a book is essential. Reading a book and following the characters, a novel. Novels are important. It helps build your neural network. Better than just looking at a headline and reading headlines of a newspaper. And that's a discipline. And the more you read, the easier it will become. And it's easy. If you stop reading on a regular basis for a year or two, it takes effort to get things flowing again, to where you can sit down and read 50, 60 pages and completely lose yourself in the story. It takes a slow build-up. And so discipline in itself is always working to your benefit. But you have to make sure it's not unhealthy. But then if you're a spiritual worker or a volunteer worker, you're allowed to go into the extreme level a little bit, because those activities require an amount of extra effort. But you don't want to fall into codependency, as I've talked about before, and to the point where and you also don't want to fall into that volunteer syndrome, where a lot of times volunteers, people that are working in missionaries, and I've known people like this, they will become depressed thinking when they see the enormity of poverty. I had a friend who went to El Salvador, and he said he was in this little village, and these kids, the best thing ever was for them to go up and sit in a circle and play a game where they smacked each other's legs with a sock up by the church, which was basically some tin, some scrap metal. And they were pulling giant spiders this big out of the ground. And when I saw the spiders, I was getting ready to sign up, and I saw those spiders. This is 13 years ago. I was like, oh man, no, I can't. So volunteers sometimes get that. People in missionaries, we're doing work. They see the enormity of the poverty, and they go, there's nothing I can do to really help. What am I doing here? And that requires discipline as well. You're always helping when you're, in a missionary or in a hospice. It's the vibrations. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is really not making a dent. It's the vibrations that you give off, and that you can connect like a domino effect with like-minded people. It's what you don't see going on under the surface that makes that work so important. So discipline. You have to, discipline in many forms, and whether it's not giving in to excess, even if you have it, and throughout your day, creating work that to ease up on leisure. It's part of that discipline.